you stick with us, we will move on over to T.D.G.S. Sports. And let me tell you what, this week is interesting. We got coaches moving all across the league. We got a good matchup for this Super Bowl Sunday. We have the Packers still not firing LaFleur, unfortunately. And so we must talk about that because the show will go on whether or not LaFleur gets fired. Anyway.
Are you sure the sun will come up in the morning if LaFleur keeps coaching in Green Bay? Are you sure?
I think for Green Bay, I'm not entirely too sure if the sun even comes up anymore. Right? With a loss to the Bears in the late season, it's pretty dim over there. It's pretty dim.
It is, but I mean the big news though is, I mean, I understand when I look at the Hall of Fame and all the halls of fame, you know, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, everything. There's the whole thing of who should be a first ballot Hall of Famer and who shouldn't. And there's guys who are kind of, everyone knows they're a Hall of Famer, but because of the way that they were during their careers, they make them wait a few years because they don't want them to be first ballot. We're going to make you wait 4 or 5 years. And in fact, famously, it was Jim Rice, who played for the Boston Red Sox. He was a Hall of Famer and everyone knew it. He did not get elected until his final year of eligibility. So the voters, because he was so truculent with the media all the time, they made him wait until the absolute final moment and said, now you can go in. But the thing is that you got to draw a line there. And Pro Football Hall of Fame, I mean, seriously, not putting in Bill Belichick on the first ballot, I mean, good Lord, 6 Super Bowl rings, more playoff wins than any coach in history, and you can't justify this. So there has to be limits, and I think this is what happens when you get guys who are kind of too full of their own hubris. There's no one really regulating them, and it just gets more and more ridiculous. But when it reaches the point where you're not putting in Bill Belichick on the first ballot, that's ridiculous. I mean, I'd like to see anyone who knows football at all who doesn't think that Belichick is a Hall of Famer. How can you justify that?
But here's the deal, though.
I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm not a Belichick fan, but good Lord.
But this is the weakness of the league. This is where it's going, even with Goodall. This is I will argue forever that Goodall is the worst commissioner the NFL has ever had. And I think the way the sports are going, that they look too far into this idea of when something happens underneath your rule, right? And we could look at the Deflategate and go, what quarterback isn't, messing with the air pressure in the football, right? Then you have the Spygate there. And then you have the biggest Patriots scandal, which is Robert Kraft going to a massage parlor looking for a happy ending. And I think that they come on now.
I mean, if I got his money and resources, I'm not going to be trolling a strip mall for a happy ending, Yeah,
you get that 18 or 20-year-old that Bill Belichick has, right? However old she is,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but Robert Kraft, he married a nurse or a doctor or something, right?
Who? Kraft?
Robert Kraft, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he got tired of going to the the massage parlors.
Well, the problem with me with going out with an 18 or 20-year-old is, have you ever heard the conversation of an 18 or 20-year-old female these days? It's horrifying.
Yeah,
and, let's get real. Look at Bill Belichick's age, and we're near the same age. You can only spend just so much time in the sack, and you got to start talking and actually communicating and connecting on a human level, and that's just got to be brutal.
Yeah, right. Especially for someone that spent his career in New England or northern states. Right. Like, come on now. It's I'm sure he already talks funny. But the point is, I think that I had this conversation earlier and it feels like I'm mirroring myself. I think that they're either trying to make a point with him because of those two moments, or they're trying to make a point with Robert Kraft because Robert Kraft was trying to get in there too. And I think that it was kind of like, again, I think that there's some kind of hate, but at the same time, it's like, who's voting? Right? What idiot's voting? If you don't have 6 Super Bowl, rings on your fingers, you go ahead and sit this one out, buddy. Sit it out.
Okay. Look, so I never played pro football, neither did you, but I can tell you who the Hall of Famers are because once you know the game well enough, you can vote on things. But here's what it is now. From what I understand, this was a backroom deal to make Belichick wait a year because of the whole Spygate thing, which could be. Now, here's the thing, Justin. Let me just tell you this: if you and I were voters and we cooked up this thing where we're going to make Bill Belichick wait, I may or may not disagree, but I'll tell you what, I am not going to be one of the ones who said he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame. A certain percentage of you need to say no so that he doesn't get in, but I am not going to be on the no side because at some point I'm going to have to justify that. And what am I going to say when I say I voted no for Bill Belichick getting in the Hall of Fame? How can I possibly justify it? And I look at that with a lot of sports. Like, how does you look at like Willie in baseball, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, all these guys, and these who get into the Hall of Fame, Greg Maddux, George Brett, guys like that, and they got in by in the 90s or 86% or something like this, like 86%. So who exactly didn't think that Hank Aaron belonged in the Hall of Fame or Greg Maddux? That's ridiculous.
Here's the point though. At what point does one year become 60 like Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose?
Well, okay, sure. That was gambling scandals. That's different.
But again, right? Is when does one year become 60, right, or 50 or whatever?
Well, it won't because technically.
No, I think with this, if they made this point now, I guarantee you this will be a next year thing. I guarantee it.
A next year thing for
Belichick trying to get in. It'll be the same issue.
No, he's going to get in next year. There's going to be too much flack.
Brother, I put $5 on it. I'd put $5 on it right now that he would not make it in next year. That they'll still pull this stuff.
We're gonna have to reevaluate that value for inflation. So you may owe me exactly probably $8.50.
Well, I'm banking on the petrodollar dying sometime soon. So I'll give you a $5 bill that's virtually worthless and more of kind of a paper just to set on your desk.
Well, actually, when we got off the gold standard and no more silver certificates or anything, money has been worthless.
You're right.
It's all based in perception. And the reason it's worth anything is because people will still take it.
Wait, my fiat dollar is fake?
Well, it's as real as anything else.
The
problem is that no one will take it.
Fine. So how's this? $5 with inflationary costs and interest, but I'm telling you, he's not getting in next year.
Well, I'll tell you what. You just have to take me out to dinner somewhere. That's it.
That's fine.
I don't care what it costs. I just want me some good Texas barbecue. But every time I think about coming out there, your weather does something really horrible.
Yeah. You missed it last weekend. Actually, it snowed. Right. It snowed. Well, it didn't snow. Ice is.
That was the last time I was going to come out. Was like for your brother got married around this same time, and I was about to come out, and you had that horrible ice storm in Dallas that froze the entire freeway. I remember that. So I've been kind of, I've been in Dallas a couple of times. I was there in 2007 for the NHL All-Star game. By the way, American Airlines Arena I think that's what it's called. It's magnificent. It's like Staples on crack. I'm sorry, Crypto.com Arena on crack.
Yeah. So, or if it's the Naked Gun, it's the Ponzi scheme arena.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love those movies. Okay.
Oh my goodness. But going back again, I don't think he'll get in next year. I think they'll make him wait again, and I think it's kind of like the this is what you did. But again, though, I would ask those people voting is which coach hasn't had somebody else's film in their film closet.
Well, I can say this: I don't think a lot of coaches have set up video cameras on their sideline and tape the opposing defensive coordinator's signals and then have that message relayed to them. So yeah, there's that too. And I'm not saying
so are we going to make Jim Harbaugh wait when he gets to that stage?
Do you think Harbaugh's a Hall of Fame coach?
Not yet.
That's what that comes down to.
Not yet. But when he gets there, I mean, what about Pete Carroll?
He has not proven himself at this level yet.
What about Pete Carroll,
though? NFL coaches, Harbaugh has to put a lot of stuff on his resume before he is a Hall of Fame coach at the pro football level.
Fine, let's
Because
talk
remember,
about
he
this
did
one
that
though.
stuff in Michigan.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, but let's
college.
talk
That's
about this.
boys. We're talking men here, not boys.
Let's talk about this one though. Okay, what about Pete Carroll? Come on
No,
now.
no. He's not a Hall of Fame pro football coach. He is not.
Yeah, but
He won one Super Bowl in that blowout win. I think it was 43-8 over the Broncos. But then he made the stupidest play call in the history of the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 49 against the Patriots. And what has he done outside of those 2 years? Not a whole lot.
He took Geno Smith to the Raiders and couldn't figure out why he lost.
Right. Yeah.
With a tight end like Brock Bowers and a quarterback like Geno Smith, what could have gone wrong?
Right. So yeah, let's go ahead and ditch this whole Pete Carroll to the Hall of Fame thing. Now you brought up Pete Carroll, and then you just made the case as to why he shouldn't get in.
So then let's go ahead with Sean Payton, right? Is Sean Payton going to be held out for paying his players to hit harder, which is what we do in football?
Well, that was actually Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator on that team, who did that. But Sean Payton, again, he has to put a lot more stuff on his resume. He's not a Hall of Fame coach yet. He went to one Super Bowl. They won that Super Bowl. I mean, as far as his head coach, won that one Super Bowl. And, it was for New Orleans, which is great because, who'd ever thought the Aints would win a Super Bowl? But I think if he has a good run here in Denver over the next 3 to 5 seasons, I think Sean Payton is a Hall of Fame coach.
All right, fine. Let's throw it down. I'm gonna throw it down. What about John Gruden? What happens when John Gruden's up for that?
No, he's not. What did Gruden do? He went to one Super Bowl.
What are you talking about? With the Buccaneers after he left the Raiders and took the playbook with him and then said, "This is how we defend him."
He went to one Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. That's it.
Come on now.
What else did he do? Where's the notable thing in Gruden's career that would actually make him like way up here on the coaches of coaches, where he deserves to be immortalized in the Hall of Fame? No. Good coach? Sure. I think the game passed him by, which happens to coaches sometimes. They come back and try to coach and realize that the game has evolved past whatever they were good at when they were at their height. But, he's a good coach, but Hall of Fame? No. Absolutely not.
Let's see. I'm running out of people here that I can throw at you so you can take the point away. All right, let's try this one. What about Jerry Jones? They're going to make Jerry Jones wait? Come on now.
Jerry Jones, owner.
Not a coach. Not a coach, but owner.
Well, he thinks he's the coach, but anyways, team owner, Jerry Jones. And I thought he was in already.
Is he in already? How are you in already?
He's going to get in
already.
He might.
How are you? But how do you be still okay? Anyway,
well, owners don't have to stop owning the team to get in the Hall of Fame. That's the thing. They don't have to retire from ownership.
They should. They should retire from ownership. Not him. He's never going to retire. I mean, when he dies, but
Yeah.
So needless to say,
there, man, the jokes are too easy. Don't feed me straight lines. No low-hanging fruit. None of that, man.
I'm throwing them at you. I want you to take these. Okay, the low-hanging fruits. Just
there will be no Stockton to Malone here. Okay, you're not throwing me lob passes under the hoop so I can slam dunk it, man.
No,
we got to work for it. We got to work for it. 3 yards on a cloud of dust.
No, brother. I am throwing them all for you to make those jokes. Come on now. It's like I've already thrown the Justin Tucker jokes out. Come on now. I gave you the Robert Kraft one.
And how many happy endings were there to your Justin Tucker jokes, anyways? Maybe I gave you one. That was it.
Well, the lawsuit will never know.
Anytime someone gets a happy ending, they want another one. It's just the way it goes, and that's
Well, that's when you have to define happiness, right? What is happiness to you?
What is happiness to me?
Yeah, because
that's a deep question. What is the meaning of life?
That's how you define a happy ending, right? You got to figure out what happiness is.
Yeah, that's true. And then it has to end.
I'm sure Deshaun Watson will probably tell, I guess, right?
Well, he's going to be on the field again next year. Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, who I think they finally found someone to take that coaching job.
They did. It's strolling across the bottom here. Just wait a second, okay?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, the Hall of Fame, right? Snubbed, definitely snubbed, right? That was a problem. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't foresee Belichick getting to that point where He'll be in next year. I think that they're going to make him wait. It's kind of to wag the finger in his face. They get how dare you go
It's
to
like
UNC?
Revenge of the Nerds, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the fact of like, look at you sucking in UNC right now. Like we're gonna make you just not just suck as a coach, but we're also gonna make you wait, right?
Okay. Hmm.
Um, but we got a lot of coaches moves, right? To move
You know
away
what?
from
I
the
can't even hardly keep up with them. There's so many coaching vacancies, and so many coaches just moving here and there. And I think the big thing is Brian Flores looks like it's going to be staying in Minnesota as their defensive coordinator, right?
yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Todd Monacan. They hired as the Browns head
Todd
coach.
Monken, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Jesse Mentor is the Ravens coach. Mike McCarthy. Now there's one. Okay, when it comes to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, he does not deserve it, but I think McCarthy might actually get in for just because. But then again, Schottenheimer's not in, which that would be a travesty as well, because he was the most gutless big game coach that the league has ever seen, maybe second only to George Allen. But yeah, if McCarthy gets in, if Schottenheimer gets in, it'll be a sad day. Marty Schottenheimer, we're talking. I know there's a Schottenheimer
Yeah,
coaching
not
tree.
Brian, Marty, his dad, his
Yeah,
dad.
right.
Well,
Yeah,
I think with McCarthy though, I think with McCarthy, it's like he gets the big game, gets the win, right? And then all of a sudden it's like he kind of just fumbled after that. And I don't know. I always I want to attribute that to Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not entirely too sure that it was him.
right.
Because it's like they fell apart. Like and so that's the irony here in the situation is will Aaron Rodgers stay with McCarthy going to the Steelers?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, I think he's, from what I understand, he just got his AARP card in the mail. So, and he's going to go to that whatever that dark corner is. He goes to figure out what he's going to do next.
What
He's
is he
going to
going to
do
go to
another
like
one of those.
ayahuasca assisted living or what?
Well, you know what? I just think that the value of that, whatever he does, is rather specious because how in the world could someone go into a dark cave for a week and then come back and say, "I want to quarterback the Jets"?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Seriously, dude, what are you doing in there?
yeah.
Just
What are
what are
you
you
doing?
doing in there?
Well, man, it's those shapes. He saw the judging lady and the all the other beings that you see while on ayahuasca, and all of a
I mean,
sudden it's
at
like,
that stage of his career, when he is just in the, at best in the twilight, if not over the hill a little bit, and you think you're going to resurrect the Jets franchise. At that point, you should have gone to a team that just needed a quarterback that had all the other things in place. Like maybe should have chose like Minnesota or something like that.
well, the
Then
problem
he'd
is
just go
that
to the Jets.
him and Favre weren't really the best of friends, right? So he didn't actually want to walk in his footsteps. You go to
What
the
footsteps?
Jets. Well, you go to the Jets and then you go to Minnesota, right? Come on now.
No, he never should have gone to the Jets. I would have come out of that dark hole and told
Yeah.
Minnesota, hey, you know what? Yeah, your Kirk Cousins era needs to be over, and I want to play for you.
Yeah, but but then the question is, did he see Brett Favre when he was tripping on ayahuasca? And
Yeah,
Favre said,
I don't know.
Favre said, go to the Jets, just don't have an affair.
Yeah, you got to wonder if you take enough substances, do hallucinations ever cross paths? Like if you and I did some really good shrooms right now at the same time, would we see each other in that
That's
second that parallel
in,
universe?
in that in that world. I don't know,
Yeah,
right? If we both took like well, yeah,
some of the good stuff.
yeah, some of the good
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
DMT. If we both hit DMT, would we cross paths? I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. That's a good question, but obviously him and Favre did because he ended up in the Jets.
They did. Right. And why would
Yeah,
anyone make that decision?
for the
Just
same reason why anybody would,
I don't know why anyone would want to coach the Jets, let alone just play for them in any what lures you to the Jets? And this is not the Dolphins fan in me coming out. I'm just saying just being reasonable.
Yeah, but
I
then
always want to go to that franchise.
yeah, you're right. That's the bigger question. But then the bigger question is, why did that coach not get fired?
For what? For not maximizing all the garbage he had on that roster?
Well, no, he fired the special teams the punt receiver. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
punt returner. Sorry, not receiver, returner. Yeah, come on now.
I mean, a defense that did not get one interception for an entire NFL season.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not one interception. 17 games.
Yeah, but
Not one interception.
eventually, you got to take your records when they show up, right? Why reject that one? You could put
I
that in.
suppose.
You could put that in the trophy case, right? Zero interceptions for the year, and then next year they could have another trophy that says zero interceptions for 2 years. Hell, we can keep it going. Let's say 3, 4 years
They
down
traded
yonder.
Sauce Gardner at the trade deadline. He went to the Indianapolis Colts. Unfortunately, he got injured, and then their quarterback got injured. Daniel Jones was having a great season. He got injured, but that'd be a team to watch next year, Indianapolis Colts. I have a question for you, man. Looking at the games of this past weekend, and just I like the Seahawks, Rams, Pats over the Broncos. What isn't
So
watching the NFL anymore?
So that was interesting, right? These games were interesting, and as I was sitting here, about ready to freeze, right? I was watching the Broncos game, okay, and it started out with good weather, and so Stidham, right, did really well. He was making the throws he needed to make. He was kind of controlling that offense, right? They started off with that rollout and essentially the that corner route for the tight was it the tight end, the receiver, whoever came up on
Mhm.
that second level and broke the zone there. And so you saw a nice start to the game, right? Which otherwise, that's kind of what people were trying to see is how would Stidham react? I know last week we talked about will he have that heart, right? You're the second string guy trying to show your
Look, Stiddy got
um
game, man.
yeah,
Stiddy got some game.
to show what you can do, especially when as they were describing it in the game, is that he was kind of hired by his former high school coach, right, as a second string guy, right? Is that was your chance to say I'm not actually just a second string guy. I'm a first stringer. But I like that he was having fun. He was really having fun. You could see him in that for most of that game. Where he was
That
again,
one
he was
play decided it. Really,
yeah,
it was
that and I was talking about that today,
yeah,
right? That
yeah.
backward was the backwards pass, right? But he did
Backwards
have that
pass.
interception
Yep.
late in the game too. So that wasn't, you have a few mistakes, and unfortunately, those mistakes were game changers, right? And so you don't like to see the second string guy trying to show his heart out there on the field while he's having fun make a game changing mistake, right?
Well, come on, trying to throw the ball in that snowstorm. I mean, those flakes were like
But
yay big, man.
so here's my point though. Here's my point. I'm gonna say
Mhm.
this, and I'll say this very proudly, and you could try to cut this one down, but you're never gonna do it, right? Is that the Patriots won specifically because of the weather.
Yeah, I could say
They
that.
they
I
they
can see
were
that.
not
Yeah.
if it had stayed, even just cold for the game and it didn't snow or ice or anything, is that I don't think the Patriots could get the job done. And I really don't think that Drake May has been getting better through this progression of playoffs though. This is my problem with him is I think that he started off shaky, kind of like he was in the big run here. And I
Mhm.
think he hasn't lived up to that end season potential that he's had. I think in season he was great. It was kind of football as usual. He tied his shoes and got out there. And then once he got to the postseason, it was a whole different ball game. And he's not showing that he's the that well, I'm not gonna say Hall of Fame quarterback, but I am, right? There's that quarterback. We're gonna look at
Just
this
say
run and go,
franchise QB. That'd be
yeah,
real.
and we're
Great
gonna look at like,
franchise.
damn, Drake May was the guy. He hasn't shown it yet, and so that's something to look forward. Look, when looking forward is will he have that in the big game?
Yeah, and that
So
Seattle defense ain't no joke. That's the thing.
yeah, but we'll
So
get to the
yeah,
picks here. But so
and we got
for
we can't picks come next week, man. Can't
yeah,
pick,
that's
and then
true.
we
Picks
just
come
come to the
next week.
same picks
Picks come
next week.
next week,
So
so
we
we
just do
can't,
some analysis here and everything. You know what we're doing.
yeah. And I think that New England, though, it's like you saw them even try to run the ball in the snow. It didn't work, but it also wasn't working on dry ground, right? So
The
they
game
were,
was only what was it 10-7 the final score? I
yeah.
mean, that's a
But
got to go back
that's
to
what I'm
what the days
saying,
of Otto Graham to
right?
find scores
But
like
that's but again, that's where I'm going with this one is that Drake May he didn't have that rollout play that they like to do where they
that.
cut that tight end 5 yard out. Is it was shut down. It was like everybody knew what his move was, right? So again, if the weather didn't show up, the Broncos would have won. The
Right.
weather did. The Patriots held in there.
When we made those picks, I said, I wanted to go with with the Broncos to win the game, but I said, you can't go with the second string quarterback in that game. And at the end of the day, that was the difference. Instead of making really that one mistake, and that was the turnover deep in his own zone, that was the difference in the ball game. Right there, weather aside and everything else. It's like that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, you're right. And especially because
that would be the thing.
Especially when looking at the games over this postseason, which have been like kind of those like one mistake has ended the game for other teams.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like they haven't been blowouts. It hasn't been like except for Frisco, which is Frisco, but they haven't been games where you're like, damn, that team blew out the other team. Right. It was like they've been close games based off of mistakes. And so, yeah, you can see the pattern here, and I guess that's something to plan for. Again, when you're in a scenario deep in your zone, was that the right play call though?
Well, the one thing I saw with Stidham throughout the game was that he was okay, but it was just when the pressure got to him really quickly. And when I mean the pressure, I mean when guys broke through the line, because there was a couple of jailbreaks.
Yeah.
Those were the times when he seemed to panic a little bit. But I like the way he was overall. And in case he's watching the podcast here, which who knows, he may be, Stiddy, you did a good job. But it's a couple of times when he just looked up and holy crap, there's 300-pound guys just coming at me with no one in front of them. Like the turnover they made. And it was one of those things where you have to just, look somewhere and throw the ball away. That's it, as opposed to trying to actually scramble out or make something of it. But yeah, it's easy for me to say sitting here in my, with all of my fantastic gear behind me and everything else, and my NFL hat, as though I'm a former player and everything. When I've called a lot of games from the couch, though. I have. I've called a lot of plays from the couch, and I had nothing to do with that Super Bowl 49 call to not give Marshawn Lynch the ball on the goal line. I thought that was ridiculous. And I hope that haunts Pete Carroll forever. Because not only did the Seahawks lose that game, but there's a good chance that one play will ultimately keep Marshawn Lynch out of the Hall of Fame. Because otherwise he would have 2 Super Bowl rings on his resume. He likely would be the Super Bowl MVP if they do that, because he tore it up in the second half. And then they got the loss. Someone else is the MVP. And now Marshawn Lynch is kind of an overweight pot smoker up there in the Pacific Northwest now. So I don't know.
So I'm going to say this with Marshawn. I'm going to say this with Marshawn Lynch before I make my other point back to the game, is that I don't think that is going to be the one that keeps him from the Hall of Fame. I think his comeback season, like Michael Jordan's comeback season, terrible. And I think that'll be the reason why he doesn't make the Hall
of Fame.
Which
comeback season for Jordan? You talking about coming back with the Wizards, or when he took 2 years off from the Bulls?
No, the Wizards, when he tried to make, tried to bring in people to see the games, and it was like, brother, why are you even doing that?
Well, I think there was a deeper meaning to that, and it was more charitable than people thought. He wasn't really trying. It wasn't about him. It was about the Wizards and the popularity of basketball.
I get that. I get that, but don't embarrass yourself, okay? Same thing. Marshawn Lynch did the same thing, right? It was just like
comparing Marshawn Lynch to Michael Jordan, man. Come on, Michael Jordan come back right now and play, and it doesn't tarnish his image. Jordan was just it. Jordan was it. And there's like people trying to say LeBron is the GOAT. Man, get out of my face with that.
Yeah.
When did you ever see Jordan flop? When did you see Jordan flop? When did you see him
have we seen Jordan cry? Have we seen Jordan cry? If you have a picture of Jordan crying, please post that. I want to see it. But okay, so let's go back to this then, right? So we have a second string quarterback in the big game, right? With these scenarios that he's not normally used to, because you don't get the same scenarios on practice squads, right? You're the scout team. So with quarterbacks getting hurt more and more, right? And you want to keep them healthy, at what point do we start looking at approaching the situation from the same perspective as, say, the NFL goalies? Like where we start, throwing, it's like, should we get them game time scenarios where we start throwing in second string quarterbacks to experience that and kind of have that, or do we continue to play this game of hope our quarterback doesn't get hurt, and then when it does, like, oh shit, we got a second string quarterback that we have no idea if he's battle ready.
The problem is, and the reason why the NFL you can't do those types of things is you got to remember losing one game in the NFL is the equivalent of a 5-game losing streak in the NBA or the NHL.
Yeah. No,
It's
I
the
get
equivalent of a 10-game losing streak in Major League Baseball. So every game is weighted so heavily that you have to bring it every week. And that's why you see teams that, they talk about NFL teams that start off 0-2 or 0-3 and look at their chances of making it to the playoffs.
It goes down
crazy.
astronomically. Yeah. But the
start
point is,
off
though,
0-2 in
is
hockey or
what?
baseball or basketball, 0-2, it's like whatever.
Yeah, but I get that. But at some point, though, do they where do you get the practice in, right? Because if it would have came down to this and say he was ready for, say, those all out jailbreaks essentially, right? Would it have changed if he had more practice?
Well, if he had more game speed,
Yeah,
because his only thing was in practice because of what happened with Bo Nix getting injured in the game before. So Stidham had to start. So he really only had that 1 week to get ready. And even though he's taking the first team reps, but it's at practice speed, not true full game speed with guys trying to take your head off.
right. They're not tackling him, and
No.
from the scout team perspective, their scout defense isn't tackling him. It's more of a wrap up and/or it's kind of just two-hand touch
Yeah, and he has
situation.
to learn the plays.
Right.
More about put enough pressure on and let him process through the progressions and learn the plays and things like that. But yeah, and here's something that's never going to happen. But what the NFL really needs to do is, and now they're talking about going to an 18-game schedule with maybe 2 bye weeks. What they really need to do seriously is cut the schedule down. If you want guys playing their best football at the most important time of the season, they need to play fewer regular season games, not more regular season games. Everybody gets dinged up as the season goes along. So if there was still a 14-game season, it started out, it was only 12. Then they went to 14. Then they went to 16. Now they're in 17.
Yeah, but again, what makes that decision is money. It's not
Exactly.
it's not the
All
health.
about the Benjamin.
It's capital expansion, right? So in a couple years, are we going to have a 24-game season? Right? Are we playing football all year long? Are they trying to keep up with hockey? Right? Are they trying to keep up with the NHL where you get a month and a half off, and then you're back into the season?
What are you talking about?
What for NHL?
What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying. NHL, a month and a half, 2 months off. Sorry.
You're talking about the actual season itself.
Yeah, that's what
not
I'm
a
saying.
mid-season break. Okay,
No, that's what I'm saying. You get the cup, the big game, right, and then all of a sudden you're back into it. Essentially, before you say what or get time to kick your feet up, you're back at it.
That's true because training camp is the end of August. They get back to training camp or early September.
Yeah, so you have
that's true. You get 2.5 months off, and that's it.
Yeah.
But look at all the time football players need off, though. The season ends in January, and then you get basically 7 months off. OTAs start in July, I believe.
Yeah. So you couldn't keep up with an NHL player. That's what we know for sure for NFL guys. But
they take some brutal hits. Like you see retired NFL guys who are broken down and everything, but you see retired NHL guys. The most common complaint I heard in my media days was about pretty much a lower back, knees, things like that. In fact, I asked Al McInnes, remember, who could fire the slap shot at 100 miles an hour. And I saw him in the press box once, and I said, "Hey, Al, why don't you go down there and go ahead and rip one 100 miles an hour just for old time's sake?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "My back will go out if I do that." And you can tell these guys when you talk to them just like playfully about, "Hey, come back for another season." I remember I asked Dirk Graham, who was the captain of the Blackhawks for a few seasons there. I said, "Hey, what do you think? Come back for one season?" And he's like, "No." He says, "The body is done."
Yeah.
Well, in 2004, when they had Team Canada and Team USA coming out because they're going to do the whole the Canada Cup thing or whatever they call it then, the World Cup of Hockey. and like Wayne Gretzky was out there, and I said, hey, you know what? How about you just suit up? Just work power plays. It's like, no,
Yeah,
no.
but that's the point, right? You can get NFL guys back out there. You can get Philip Rivers if Joe Flacco can hang into it, but you got hockey players who are just like, no, I'm
Rivers. Oh,
done.
what a story that was, though.
Yeah, what a story. And then they're trying to hire him on the Bills. Come on now.
Yeah, well, who wants that Bills job too, man?
Well, obviously they found a guy, but that's very interesting what happened with McDermott. I was hoping that'd play out a lot differently.
Mhm.
Um, but you have okay. So let's look again. Let's look forward here, and let's go to the Chargers. We talked about Jim Harbaugh already, right? But he got a new offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel, right? And then you have a new defensive coordinator, Charles O'Leary. The question is this a move that's going to pay off, or is he just going to is this going to be one of those shit I should have done better?
I think I think the Chargers were moving and shaking until Najee Harris got injured, because there's really their starting running back, the anchor that they had, who they got from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the past offseason. So I'd say this, and then so what happened with Justin Herbert being injured late in the season? All that started because Najee Harris was out, and they did not have a secondary running back like at all. So Harris will be
Well,
back this year.
but Vidal came out of nowhere. Let's be for real with him.
Dude,
Come on now.
Najee Harris. No.
But
But
again,
then you're going to get someone come in and take the entire workload? That's
no,
the
you
other
can't.
part. Who can
You
come in and
can't.
take
Well,
the
you can't
entire
do
workload?
that. But that showed though. That's why he was sacked so much is because he had no weapons. Right?
Right. It was the run game that kept everyone honest.
Yeah,
And Najee Harris was a hammer.
You had Vidal, but Vidal couldn't take those same snaps, right? He did
Right.
well, but at the same time, he wasn't going to be that. Like you said, he wasn't going to be the workhorse.
Right.
But the question is, what are you going to change though? Is just moving the the new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator? Is that it's like what else you got? What else do you have to invest in? Like obviously another kind of running back that's ready to go, or you're going to start figuring out how to balance the Najee Harris and the the Vidal all at the same thing. But you still need receivers, right?
Yeah, true. Because
You-
Keenan Allen is in his we'll say is in the twilight now. But there should be some receivers that are available. I mean, I'd love to see, from a Chargers perspective, I'd love to see AJ Brown wind up in LA playing for the Chargers. That'd be a great weapon for them to have there. And it looks like he may have played his last game in Philadelphia, so maybe that's a move that they make. They get
Yeah.
AJ Brown, who's just a true he's a stud. He doesn't get the ink, but AJ Brown is right up there when when he's going, he's right up there, gets in the tickling that Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson type of thing. Puka Nakua, he's up there, he's like kind of here. They're right there, but he's like right here. And
Yeah,
best
but
case,
again, there's a
Indy.
lot of teams I'm sure that are willing to take him, right? But
Sure.
I think that he would be a good fit in for the Chargers. But again, it's like I like how Keenan Allen beat Antonio Gates' record, right? But sometimes like maybe you need another Antonio Gates, right? And then
Well,
on
he's
the
a
other,
tight end though, so
but no, I know,
I
I
think
know.
if they can
I,
get AJ Brown there, that'd be good.
but then let's look on the other side of the ball, right? Is anybody in that coaches meeting saying, "Man, we need another Junior Seau"? Like, no one.
Oh, you don't get Junior Seau. Junior Seau's just kind of happen. You don't get
Yeah,
them. They just happen. Yeah, and I
yeah,
think Khalil Mack.
but they need another one, right? It's like,
They do, and Khalil Mack is basically at the end of his career, I think. And I remember he was mulling retirement. I don't know if he's made that decision yet, but he was a
yeah, but
great linebacker for a while, and then kind of went into obscurity once he went from the Raiders to the Chargers. But
I still wouldn't put him at the same level as Junior Seau. He had
no,
that.
no. But where are
He
you
had
going
that
to get
kind
a
of
Junior
film.
Seau?
Yeah, but
Where are you going to find?
that's what I'm saying though. The defense didn't have that, right? And that was
I get
kind of
it.
that was the anchor to that defensive squad. He was the anchor, so you need another anchor that's going to be
Junior
willing to.
Seau, good lord! I mean, you were in high school when he retired, weren't you?
Let's see. I watched him 2010 play against again the Ravens. And no, he retired shortly after I was out of high school.
Right. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he unfortunately he took his own life. But it was I gotta say it was actually amazing to watch him play live. Right, it was great. That was one of the I cherished that game, right, because LT hit that 10,000 yard marker for a career. And Junior Seau was there, and again you saw Phillip Rivers kind of not necessarily in his prime, but he was doing all right still. And you got to see Ray Lewis and Joe Flacco do some work, so that was cool.
For the record, LT is Lawrence Taylor. That's it.
No, no, he is. This is the other guy, LaDainian
No,
Tomlinson. Sorry,
no,
LaDainian Tomlinson.
no.
Oh,
LT
I'm
is Lawrence
sorry.
Taylor.
I'm
That's
sorry.
it.
Just
That's
so
it.
you know, in high school, I actually had that same helmet and the bulldog face mask, like the real LT, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Thompson. Sorry, is it Thompson? Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you're a big fan.
Yeah. Listen. I was yeah. I call him LT, and it took me a while to even get that. And at the same time, I still say his name wrong. Not because I don't like him, because I just can't say his name right.
You couldn't say it right after he checked out of that 2006 division round playoff game against the Patriots. You know, Phillip Rivers played on a torn ACL, but Tomlinson took one snap, ran to the sidelines, and sat there with his dark face shield on for the entire game. He couldn't even get out there to be a decoy or something.
Yeah, but
Oh,
at least
anyway,
he
yeah,
at least
whatever,
he
whatever, man.
at least he took one snap and didn't retire to be a weed expert, right? So, um,
Yeah, he retired to count a Super Bowl ring. Oh, that's right. Okay, done.
but anyway, needless to say, right? I know that was kind of again that's the tarnished LT is that he did that
It's not even
unfortunately.
not that he didn't win a Super Bowl. I'm just talking about in the biggest games. You know, he, yeah,
Which is so shameful though too, because that era of running backs were fantastic, right? You were there with Amon Green, and everybody else, but um, and
on Green.
don't say anything about Amon Green. We know that guy was the bee's knees. Come on now. Uh,
Oh my
this is
goodness.
this is where I live in that era of football. Just so we know.
Yeah, yeah. It's like just like talking to someone who's 75 years old. You
Yeah,
know,
I haven't moved on from those guys. Those
unless
guys.
you talk about Jim Taylor and Bart Starr or what, man.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I never got to see. The only time I got to see Bart Starr is when he was rolled out onto the field with the golf cart, right? And he had the blanket around him.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. And the last time I saw him is then it was Brett Favre and him getting rolled out onto the field on a golf cart.
Oh, how you long for those days.
Yeah, trust me. If we could have a Brett Favre back, oh my gosh. Anyway, right. So the Chargers are something. It's like if they play their cards right, they could kill it. But at the same time, I'm not entirely too convinced that McDaniel was the right choice.
No, neither am I. Being, a Dolphins fan, and that was the guy who coached my team for all those years with Tua turning the ball over as his quarterback. But you know what? I'm going to tell you their problems though. It's on offense. What they need a big time number one receiver. I think, like I said, they should go hard after AJ Brown this offseason.
They
That's what I'd
should.
do if I was them. I'm sure there's other guys, and from what I understand, Mike Evans is looking at moving on from Tampa. From what I
Yeah,
just
but
read that,
which
but
which Mike Evans would you get though if he was moving on? Would you get like late Tampa Bay Mike Evans, or would you get like
early
early Mike
Tampa Bay
Evans?
Mike Evans
What?
or early Tampa Bay Mike Evans,
Yeah,
he's still there. And what he said, which is interesting because it says something about Tampa Bay, he was talking about he wants to make a move to a contender. Which what does that say about the team that you're leaving? Mm.
easy.
Yeah,
Not a
that's kind
contender.
of rough there, man. That's kind of rough.
Not a contender. Listen, Baker Mayfield's the guy I don't think will ever get the job done. I don't think so. You can argue with me. I don't think he ever will.
I don't know. Baker Mayfield, he's scrappy as hell with the talent, with the God given talent that he has.
Yeah. Well, he
I think
survived the Browns.
he's got the heart of a lion, but does he ultimately have all the physical tools that he needs to make it to the next level and win the big games at this level of football? That's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. No shortage of heart. No shortage of heart at all. But, it's like, what is his overall talent level really?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So,
Yeah, because unfortunately, you can't win those games and then get taken out after somebody else wins, and then the team that you beat gets in to the playoffs.
yeah, Minnesota.
Yep.
Good Lord.
Yep. That's
They gave
unfortunate.
up on Sam Darnold because they were put all their eggs in the J.J. McCarthy basket. And then Darnold was going to a Super Bowl, and McCarthy
Yeah.
spent half the season injured. Now they're talking about the hot rumor is Kirk Cousins going back to Minnesota.
I think Cousins, man, Cousins played out. I think he was the guy that he was the guy that never could get the job done. Right.
Sort of. I mean, I see that, but look at the teams he was on. I think Kirk Cousins, given a fair shot, I think he can do the Brad Johnson thing. Remember when Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl with Tampa?
Yeah.
Put a team and a system around Cousins, and I think he can execute. The problem is Cousins is not going to go out there and beat a team on his own. Nobody's going to say it's Cousins' time,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
will execute. I'll say this. If Kirk Cousins been quarterback in the Broncos this past weekend, I bet the Broncos would have won that game with Kirk Cousins at quarterback.
Yeah, but
Would have.
again, yeah, they should have, right? They should have, but it's again, man. I don't know.
I mean, that's a huge if because he's not on their roster or anything else. But I'm
Yeah,
just saying he's the type who put him in that situation, that team, a system, and he can execute. The
I,
problem is expecting there to be Kirk Cousins' time, even though he had some big moments there in Minnesota over the years.
yeah. Again, though, I think that it's who you're out there with, right? I think again, once you guard Jefferson, right, you have Addison, who was not really at the same level as Jefferson, but
Right,
almost there, right?
right. I said
And
right.
then so once Jefferson was taken away, that was kind of Kirk Cousins, like it was his weapon, and once for him, it's like once that was gone, where do you throw the ball to? I mean,
Well,
Thielen was let go for a reason, right? Is that he wasn't?
he wasn't feeling anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
just wasn't feeling it.
yeah. You did
Man,
that
I'm
one.
sorry. Yeah,
You did.
that's
Look
why
at
I
I
said
threw
no
that
low
one.
hanging
I
fruit.
threw that one up for you, and
What do I do?
you
I pick up a rotten apple off the ground and
yeah, and you turned it into
yeah.
gold, brother. You turned it into gold. I don't know, man. It's again though. You're at what point do you say I'm just holding on for a dream, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Rogers. Rogers is chasing that last game. It's the same thing. And again, I'm going to go back a while here, right? It's the same thing as Rich Gannon, right? That dream was to get that Super Bowl, and he held on as long as he could. And then guess what? He couldn't. The game passed him by.
Rich Gannon.
Yeah.
He quarterbacked that Raiders team that lost to the Bucks,
Buccaneers,
right?
the Buccaneers, yeah, but he held on with the Raiders for like the same thing that Kirk Cousins is doing. He's
Well,
still
let me
trying
just
and
tell you
trying.
something about that Raiders team. No, I
Yeah,
do not have any inside information. However, I am a man who just makes observations here and there. Now, what else was going on up there in the Bay Area during that time? You had Barry Bonds hitting, a million home runs every year. You had Balco Laboratories at its height, and right around that same time, you have all these veteran players all on the exact same football team, the Oakland Raiders, which is in the Bay Area, all feeling a renaissance in their careers.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, suddenly these guys who were pretty much washed up all are playing like they're 28, 29 again. What do
No,
you
I
think was happening there? How do you think they got to that Super Bowl?
listen. Everybody took the same protein shake as Barry Bonds, and they did not know what was in it, nor did they ask questions. They just woke up one day saying, "Damn, I feel good today," and nobody asked
I was
questions,
singing
right?
like James Brown. I feel good.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
good, right? But again, though, if that's what say Rich Gannon needed. Not that we're accusing Rich Gannon of doing that, but we may or may not have, some inside material there.
I don't know about Rich Gannon, himself. He was tough. He was like, he was rich.
Yeah, but yours. I mean, does it's making sense? It's he did the
Rich
same
Gannon
thing.
and Brad Johnson were pretty much the same quarterback. They were.
Yeah, yeah,
Rich Gannon had a little bit more natural. Rich Gannon, Brad Johnson, Alex Smith. All with
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
quarterback.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Same quarterback.
I go with that one for sure.
You got to build a
Uh,
team around him.
yeah,
Kirk Cousins is the same as them. He's a little smaller. He didn't have quite the size, but yeah.
but
Kirk
he's the
Cousins.
same way. But that's what I'm trying to say is that he held on and held on and held on, and Kirk Cousins. Listen, the Falcons wasn't a good team for him to go to anyway, right?
Well, you know what? The Falcons, I think, honestly, I think they're kind of better than a lot of people give them credit for. Bijan Robinson is maybe he's the best running back in the league right now at this time, in this
No,
moment,
no.
as we
Listen,
speak,
listen, listen. That
as we
dude.
speak.
No, Let me tell you why he's not a good quarterback. That dude apologized for saying "smear the queer." Apologized for it. He apologized. You
Well,
get.
you get stuck in a certain time period. We
Uh,
played smear the queer when you're on the playground, which meant just tackle the guy with the ball. That's
yeah,
what it was. That's what the game is for all of you, uh, Gen Zers and Gen Alphas and whatnot who don't know what that game was. When we had to invent games just before the computer age, and we had a game, we would just say it was called smear the queer.
yeah,
Or tackle, and you couldn't just say tackle the guy with the ball. I mean, that's a lot of syllables. Smear the queer. That's it.
yeah.
It rhymes. It's
And
quick.
you wanted,
3
and you,
syllables. Done.
yeah. And you think about it, and you really wanted
You
to
just
make
grab
fun.
the ball and just try to run with it.
And you wanted to make fun of the guy with the ball, right? That's why you called it that. But the point is,
No,
anytime,
you would dog pile on him until it compressed his lungs and he couldn't breathe.
yeah,
And he was crying, but no sound was coming out.
So, he
Just
was
tears were
probably
streaming down his
he
face.
was probably dying, and nobody could tell.
Right.
but again, you don't get any respect from me when you apologize for saying things like a game from that time. Sorry, you don't get it. You won't ever have my vote for the Hall of Fame. I would snub every time. I'd say nope.
Well, John Allers, the announcer for the play-by-play announcer for the Anaheim Ducks, he actually used that phrase on air, kind of by mistake at one point. And Brian Hayward was there, who's his analyst, was sitting there, and he didn't say anything. And then, awkward silence, and he moved on with the call. But I got to talk to Brian afterwards about that. And what he said was, I asked him if John had gotten in trouble. He says he didn't really get in trouble, but he had to make about a dozen phone calls the next day. And then he was telling me, I was like, you didn't say anything. He goes, I've never heard of it before. Because Brian Hayward's a Canadian. He doesn't know what Smith is.
Yeah,
They played probably a similar game, but they called it something different. So he's like, did he just say tackle the gay? He didn't know. So he couldn't even save him in that moment because he didn't know what he was talking about.
It was.
I've never heard of that game.
It's not like, man, yeah, and those Canadians, they're too nice to play a game like that. So,
weird, eh?
Yeah, eh? Oh man! All right, let's get one more, and we got about 5 minutes here. Okay, what about Stefanski? Is that the Falcons' fix? Is that the fix?
Oh, Stefanski. Yeah, and on his way out, he fires shots at his quarterback room, going all the way back to Baker Mayfield. And Mayfield now is going to love to face him twice a year.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is Michael Penix, who's had 3 ACL tears in his career since college, and now he just got one in the pros. So is Michael Penix, the quarterback, throws a nice ball. I mean, but you can't. What do you do with a guy who's talented but can only play 8 games a year? What do you do with him? That's the problem with a lot of guys. Is their body can't take the pounding.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this. It's common amongst these newer quarterback classes where they're just not able to hang in there.
Yeah, and I think they have to do a study about the amount of just ACLs and Achilles tears that we're seeing in the league. Just overall, it's incredible. You think with all the training and the supplements and things like that they have nowadays, the athletes would be, more finely trained, finely tuned than they are. And I say it again. I think you can overcondition muscles because muscles will grow and get stronger, but tendons and ligaments only get just so strong. And I think you have bodies. What happens is you're putting so much torque, so much pressure, and your body is made with all those joints are weak points. And I
Yeah.
think you have bodies that are just kind of snapping at the weakest point because the muscles are just way stronger than they ever should be.
Well, yeah, I would argue though, because I was as I watched these, these hockey trainers is trying to get new stuff to help with my kind of hips and backs there, hips and back is that it was a lot of like when I got hurt, it was just the unbalance of muscle, right? It's like you had some areas that were stronger than others, and you never
Right.
worked out certain spots. And I think a lot of times with that they're just not thinking about those areas that they need to work out. And so I think at the same time you have muscle around it, but there's certain spots where you got to do the to protect those, right? So you had those Achilles, like what do you do for the Achilles? Obviously, I'm not the trainer there to answer that question, but you got to kind of balance out where your strength is, though. Too, you can't just have
Right.
certain areas that are better than others, and then have other areas on your body that are untouched, because then the stress is going to go to those weaker points, right? And you're going to struggle with that.
Well, and also what you have is, you talk about players getting dinged up and you have the compensation injuries.
Yeah.
You get an injury on your right ankle, so you start favoring the other side and you wind up with a torn Achilles on that side. It happens. But these
Yeah.
guys just go so hard every single time out there. I mean, those of us who played rec league stuff, it's like if we we don't go that hard. We think we do, but it's
Yeah.
nothing compared to those guys.
Well, once
You
once you make
actually
it the
have
beer
to
league,
talk
yeah.
to a trainer to
Yeah.
find out, hey, can I go all out or not? Whereas, rec league is like, hey, that hurts. I'm not pushing on it too hard.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
They'll push through the pain as
Unless you're
long as
some
they
of
know
us.
they're not going to injure it any further. That's the
Yeah.
thing. They will push through whatever the pain is.
Right, but you gotta know as far as you gotta keep working out through the pain though, and you gotta figure
Mhm.
that out.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, that is gonna wrap it up before we get to this 2 hour mark here. Thank you for tuning in to T.D.G.S Sports. Next week we make our Super Bowl picks. We'll talk about the Rams and the Seahawks. Obviously, we left that out, and we'll talk about more moves around the league, and hope to God that LaFleur finally gets fired. But hey, that'd be too much awesomeness in this postseason
You
chaos
can't
here.
fire
So
the flower.
yeah.
Fire the
Anyway,
flower?
yeah. Thank you for tuning in. See you later.